Was the Mid-Season Invitational of 2024 the best LoL Esports international event we have seen to date? That is a sentiment that I have actually seen on Twitter and across social media, and I think there's actually going to be a fun way to discuss this. User Matthew Churn on Reddit actually posted a full MSI quiz that we're going to take together and see how many questions you can get right. I'm going to test my knowledge, and we can talk about the event kind of mixed in because the questions cover everything from champions to players to the broadcast. Question 1, what champions had the highest presence in pick ban? Immediate guess goes to bot lane because the bot lane meta was incredibly stale this entire time. It was like Kalista, Varus, Ashe, Senna. So I'm probably gonna say Kalista is number 1 if I had to guess. The answer? Oh well, wait, let me add Talia in there as well. Kalista, Talia. Hey, there we go. Kalista and Senna, both at 91%, the 2 highest in the tournament. The meta is my one big gripe that I had in terms of like the actual tournament itself, where look, I know we hate on Xayah Kai'Sa metas all the time, but ultimately I'd take 20 of those before I see another Senna Kalista international event, please. Question number 2, of champions with 3+ games played, which champion had the highest win rate? This is tough. It's not going to be a champion that's played a lot. It's going to be a champion that was played a little bit, but then won a ton. I feel like it could be a jungler. I'm going to go with Nidalee. Why not? We saw that pop up later in the tournament. Wow, Ornn. Ornn was played 13 games and won 12 of them. Maybe had BLG picked Ornn instead of Tom Kench in the finals. Maybe they wouldn't have lost game 4. Or what game 1, whichever game on was literally Tom Kench engaging in every single time. Which top lane champion averaged the most gold per minute? I'm trying to think what top lane champion were people getting ahead on. It wouldn't be Camille. Maybe it's Camille? I don't know. Let's go with Camille. Why not? Oh, I'm an idiot. Twisted Fate. I forgot that he was a champion. I forgot hit. Yeah, that's on me. I feel dumb for that. Top lane meta in this tournament, I will say, was fairly spicy. I did enjoy it as it went on. The TF was interesting, but when you look at like what G2 was bringing out, you had the Zac, you had the Yasuo. We did see Vayne top. Lane swaps obviously kind of changed this a little bit, and even as we got towards finals and we saw Camille come out pretty consistently in ways to dive the backline, I liked it. I mean, lane swaps hurt top lane pretty bad, and there's no denying that, and quite frankly, I don't think they're going to be around come Worlds time, so I think you might see more lane-dominant top laners come back out. You can afford to try and take some trades that might work out in your favor rather than just be 2 levels down because your bot lane swap top, and now you're screwed. Of junglers with 3+ games played, which one had the highest DPM? I feel like if Talia jungle was played a good bit, which I think it might have been, I'm actually going to go with that. I'm going to stick with Talia. Oh, Nidalee. Nidalee's 627 because anytime her spear landed, she was doing a crap ton of damage, and she didn't get played all that much, so the losses that she would have had she been played every game wouldn't have hurt her as bad. The highest DPM champion in general was Karthus, which I find very interesting because I think he was only played like 1 game in finals by Genji. Okay, of champions with 3+ games played, which champion had the worst win rate? I feel like Senna got beat a lot in this tournament, especially later. But I feel like this is going to be more of like a champion pick that just didn't work out. Actually, I think Zeri got played 3 times and didn't win all that much. So I'm going to go with Zeri. Oh, Rel. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Rel was picked 6 times and lost all 6 games. One of those painfully being Team Liquid and Core JJ. Yeah, that wasn't fun. What champion was the most banned? It's got to be a mid laner. It feels like mid laners were banned out a lot this tournament. I'm going to say Talia. Vi was banned 47 times and only picked 12. Senna came in second at 46 times. Dang, people really didn't like Senna, but she wasn't even winning later unless it was paired with the Ornn. Whenever Senna was with Ornn, then it was getting win. What 2 roles had the most champion diversity? I mean, I think you got to go with jungle and top. Definitely top lane, and I'm going to say jungle. I don't think support had enough unique counter pick. Oh, well, maybe they did. No, I'm going to go with top, and I'm going to go with support. I think those are going to be the 2. Oh, jungle and support. Jungle and support both had 23 unique picks. Of champions with 3+ game played, what champion had the highest DPM? Karthus was only played once. That's why they mentioned it in the question above, or the answer above. I'm still going to go with Kalista. Feel like she pumped out a ton of damage this tournament. Oh, Corki. Corgi was played 14 times, averaged 951 DPM. Lucian a very close second at 920 DPM. I will say one of the issues with trying to guess champions and things like this is that I didn't watch the tournament live, as most of us on the East Coast didn't. Games were live at 5 a.m., which, hey, it's a tournament in China, you come to expect that, but this is now the 2nd international event in a row that pain has been felt. And luckily we got Worlds in Europe, hopefully MSI in North America, and the fact that this tweet popped off in the way that it did tells me everything that I need to know that, yes, North American fans are craving an international tournament where we can wake up at a normal time, because you don't get invested into these things as much whenever you can't watch it live. And highlights, like Riot, I'll call you out on this. Like, I don't know why you're doing highlights the way you are on your YouTube channels. I want to be able to watch Anivia highlights after each and every game because it's easier to catch up. The fact that they force highlight channels to wait until they can put out their own thing, it's not good for those of us that like are trying to watch and catch up early in the morning without having to skim through games on our own. Like, you're making this unnecessarily hard. Just let the ecosystem be what it is. Don't try and bring highlights and stuff in-house. All right, moving on to team questions. What team averaged the longest game duration? I feel like I'm going to go Gen.G. They scaled a good bit and played quite a few lengthy games. And they played the most amount of games, so they would have the longest tenure, maybe T1. Hey, I was right. Gen.G, 34-38. They averaged the most amount of kills, 17.4 per game, and the most towers taken at 7.5. What team topped KD ratio, gold per minute, and gold differential per minute? Okay, well, if Gen.G got the most kills in the game, the question is, did they have the most amount of deaths? Well, in theory, they won the most amount of games, so I'm going to say Gen.G as well. Oh, G2. G2 Esports topped it with a 1.38 KD, 1936 gold per minute, and 149 gold difference per minute. Wow. And I don't know if you saw G2's scrim leaks, but they actually were performing quite well in scrims, and unironically, every time that they won a scrim right before a series on stage, they lost the series on stage. Every time they lost a scrim, they would end up going on to win the individual series itself, which is just a wild coincidence. Obviously, it's not like one-to-one related, but still. What team had the highest dragon take percentage? I'm actually gonna go with T1, I think, because it felt like their bot lane had pressure the entire tournament. Oh, Top Esports. Top Esports had a 64%. All right, which team had the highest first blood percentage? Which team was willing to get scrappy early? I feel like this would be a lower ranked team that was willing to do that, but then got bounced early, but had such few games that it would be a little bit higher. Screw it, I'm gonna go with Team Liquid. Why not? No, BLG with 59.1%. For the team questions, the one sad note that I do want to add in here is like Gen.G did do a power ranking afterwards of like their scrim partners that they had, and FlyQuest was at the bottom below Estral, and it's like, oh man, that feels bad if you're North America. We're halfway through. I want to briefly touch on the opening ceremony that was there yesterday at MSI, and how it was just a drone shot that went through the empty stadium and then eventually led to the players in the tunnel. It's like, you cut the MSI thing, you like in their reasoning whenever they cut the MSI thing or MSI song, they said they were going to focus more on player narratives, and it's like, what did you do here? Like, it's wild to me that the international opening ceremony was worse than almost every single domestic opening ceremony for finals. And I get it's by nature of the format, and that you can't do as much because you don't have the storyline set. You don't know what teams are going to be there in finals, given that games are back to back to back for the last few weeks. But that was not good. That was not it. It didn't deliver hype, in my opinion. Like, you'd be better off just having the players literally walk out down the stairs in front of all the people, because it was sold out in the venue. But the fact that you chose a empty venue drone shot is like mind-blowing to me. On to player questions. Of players who made it to the bracket stage, which player had the highest CS per minute, damage per minute? Well, I mean, the second you say CS, it's got to be Chovy, right? Yep, Gen.G's Chovy averaged 864 DPM. Wow. Which player had the highest KDA? Oh, there's a hint. This player also broke the international tournament kill record. That would obviously be Gen.G's Pays. He notably broke that in Game 3 when it was, or Game 2, I think, of their series, where it was a Blitzcrank Kalista bot lane, and he was just being spoon-fed kills by Lehens the entire time. It was absolutely incredible. Which top laner dealt the highest damage percentage? I don't know what top laner was willing to fight a lot, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to go BB. Why not? He had a pretty good tournament until they unfortunately bowed out. Oh, Bwippo. Okay, there we go in North America. Blackwood's Bwippo had a 23.2 percentage, and the only teams that he really played were PSG, T1, and Estral. So, yeah, I don't know what that means, but... Which two junglers averaged the highest gold per minute? Well, that's got to be Canyon. I'm going to go Owner. Owner had a pretty good tournament, even whenever T1 did lose. I feel like he played pretty well. T1, Owner, and G2's Yike both averaged 365 gold per minute. Wow. Okay, so Yike did have a good tournament. I know a lot of people are going to look at the Belveth game and be like, and kind of meme on him for that. He did play well. G2 as a whole played well. Which player had the lowest KDA? I'm going to go Inspired. Why not? Okay, it was Estrel's Zoth. at a .7 KDA. He was the only player of this MSI to have a sub 1 KDA. Oh, no. Oh, that's damaging for your individual brand, bro. That sucks. Excluding play-ins, which player averaged the most number of deaths per game? I feel like Moss, or no, I feel like, oh wait, no, it's excluding play-ins. Who from a major region ran it down? It gotta be a player from PSG, no. Oh wait, no, it might be one of the later teams because their games went on a lot longer. I'm gonna go with on. Why not? Oh, I got it. BLG's on. 4 deaths per game. Because I felt like they got bloody, and there were a lot of times where like he was engaging when he really should. All right, final 2 questions as we kind of wrap things up and talk about the overall impact. Which was the most viewed series of the MSI tournament, excluding Chinese platforms? I want to say that still probably was G2 versus T1. I know that had the record for a bit. It was 2.9 million. I don't think Finals was able to top it. T1 versus BLG might have been close, but I feel like that first T1 G2 series knocked it out of the park. It was entertaining because you had the West and the East both getting involved. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with that one. Oh no, okay. It was T1 BLG, the losers bracket or the lower bracket finals with 2.89 million viewers came number 1, beating out Gen G versus BLG in the grand final, which only had 2.6, which makes sense. The T1 different symbol is that. And which MSI Twitch stream had the highest peak viewership? I'm gonna go, it's either Cadril or the Spanish stream from Abai. I'm gonna go with Cadril. I think Cadril had the highest viewed stream. There we go. T1 versus G2. Cadril had 212,000 concurrent viewers. He is now the face of LoL esports, and there is no denying that whatsoever. So some final thoughts on this tournament. I think the format for MSI, quite frankly, this year was perfect. I wouldn't have changed a single thing. The only difference I would do is something that I think we could take from Worlds. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like the time between games of Worlds. I generally agree between quarters and semis, but I think that gap between semis and finals, like having a few days to like make it this larger than life event, actually is important for driving storylines, driving media, driving narratives, and a lot of stuff like that. I don't mind the back-to-back series, but it does take away from some of the hype of finals, given that it is going to be a rematch and you don't have the chance to build up a storyline or narrative going into it. I wish they would just add a little bit of separation there, but ultimately, if that comes at the expense of like changing the format at all, I wouldn't want to do that. As for whether this MSI was the best international event ever, no, I'm not willing to say that. I don't think the meta was all that much fun to watch, and as a East Coast viewer, I can't honestly in good faith sit here and put it over Worlds 2022, which I think has some of the best of fives we've ever seen at an international event. Group stage might have been a little bit of a dud, especially during week 1 whenever North America and EU were getting fisted, or week 1 and week 2 where we were getting fisted the entire time. But I think that tournament was much more enjoyable overall. Plus, as an Eastern viewer, or like an Eastern viewer, I would take that and take the ability to actually watch the series in my own time than having to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to watch these series. I'm sorry, but there's only so much I can get into series whenever I'm watching highlights the majority of the time. And it's the reason why like champion information is so tough, because I'm not actually watching the majority of the games. I'm not watching all the way through like I would when it's in Europe or North America. But overall, let me know down in the comments below, how many questions did you get right, and what's your overall thoughts on MSI? Where does this tournament specifically rank relative to the other international events? Is it in your top 5? Is it not even close? Let me know. We'll be back on Wednesday to talk about the Hall of Legends announcement that's going to be coming from League of Legends tomorrow. And as always, 3 videos a week, every week around LoL esports until we kick off the LCS Summer Split, in which we'll probably have 4, but that's in June. So until then, see y'all later. Thank you. Be sure to subscribe and drop a like down below. Adios.